Good evening, everyone. Okay, so there is some doubt. Sohani, through my moral intuition, emergency does breach constitutionalism. But the constitution does provide articles snatching away fundamental rights during emergency. Then how breaching constitutionalism? So when are you giving your first attempt? Next year. Okay, nice. So basically, even when we are following the constitution literally, even then it does not mean that what we are doing is right. Okay, so even though emergency was constitutional from legal perspective, that the procedures was followed, still it was not ethical because it provided unlimited authority. It was against constitutionalism. The core idea of constitutionalism is not the implementation of constitution, it is the limiting the authority of the government. That is the core idea of constitutionalism. A constitution may not have sufficient checks and balances, and that is why it may restrict constitutionalism. Understood? Okay, so constitutionalism is not about implementation of constitution, it is about limiting the authority of the government. That is a confusion, the confusion is there. And that is why even when the constitution provides for the restriction of the, reasonable restrictions on the fundamental rights, if we are implementing those restrictions for our own benefit, not for the benefit of the people, remember in the social contract, we agreed that yes, state can take some of our rights away, provided it is for the public interest. But emergency was not declared for public interest. Emergency was declared for the personal interest. And that is why that move, even though, it was as per constitution, it was not exactly constitutionalism. Because the constitution did not have the kind of checks and balances that it should have. If you just go through the 44th amendment after that, you will realize that what kind of checks and balances are required to actually ensure that the provision of emergency is not misused. So I hope now you are understanding. Section 66A, the Sridhar Singhal case, the section was enacted by the legislature, by the parliament. So it was constitutional in the sense that it was passed by the parliament, it was upheld by the president. But over the course of time, Supreme Court realized that it was more abused than used, and that is why it was held unconstitutional. So that's why it was violating constitutionalism, even though it was as per the provision of constitution. I also give the example of Germany, in the context of Nazi, and also in the context of Pakistan, that both these countries had constitution, and that is why, it may not always lead to constitutionalism. So, have you understood now? Sohani, have you understood now? The difference between merely implementing constitutional provision is not constitutionalism. That is what you need to understand. Merely implementing constitutional provision is not constitutionalism. It is a bigger concept. Okay, so what we discussed in the last class? We discussed about rights. So rights are our entitlements. They are our entitlement, and some of the entitlements are natural. Yes, that we do not depend on any external agency to recognize those rights. Understood? And that is why those rights are natural rights. However, conventional rights are those rights, those entitlements which require that it should be recognized by something else. And those are called conventional rights. And when we are talking about conventional right, we are not just talking about the rights which are recognized by law or constitution. We are also talking about the rights that are given to you, by the society and culture also. Understood? And that is why the great important theme is there, that the theme between right versus right. That even though you might be entitled to do something, does not mean it is the right thing to do. And that difference, you should be able to make. And I gave you various examples to illustrate, and that is a difference that we call ethics. The question was there 2 years back. Understood? After that, we talked about John Locke. When we were discussing John Locke, we understood that social contract is basically the philosophical basis of governance in which the citizens will fully surrender some of their rights so as to ensure that all other rights are protected. So basically, when they agree that yes, that a state can take away some of their rights, they are agreeing so that their other rights and in general society can be established based on peace and justice. And that is why we agree with the all the lockdown, all the restrictions on liberty, because we believe that it is for the greater good only. Understood? So that is why another perspective of that is that when we are giving government the authority to snatch some of our rights away, it is basically for the greater cause, and that is why that power and that authority comes with the responsibility, that is not the unbridled power or unrestricted power, and that aspect is known as constitutionalism. That is limiting the authority of the government, that a government does not have unlimited authority. Understood? And after that we discussed intuitions. Yes. So intuitions are basically, we discussed various thinkers like More and Ross, and these people talk, they say that we just know what is good and what is bad, just by instinct, and it does not require any explanation or any rationality to explain what is right. Just as it does not require, if you are looking at a color that is blue, then it is blue. You just know it is blue. So similarly, you may not be able to explain what you feel is right. That does not mean that it is not right. And I give you the example that whenever someone is dirtying the river, and you will say that action is wrong, you will intuitively feel that action is wrong, even though you don't know scientifically that, pollution of river will lead to so and so negative consequences for the river ecosystem. The dissolved oxygen will decrease, BOD will increase, and so on and so forth. Understood? Understood or not? So that is what moral intuitionalism say. So moral intuitionalism basically opens a window of knowledge to you, that it is not just through reason, it is not just through rationality. Sometimes we should look at the instinct, because not always we will have rationality or the facts available to us to make decision. I gave you the example of COVID virus, or we may have conflicting facts. I gave the example of Dhoni. He had conflicting facts, which one to go by. Then ultimately he relied on the intuition that I should just promote myself, in the context of 2011 World Cup final. So basically, at times you act by intuition, at times you act by rationality, and that is what you need to understand, that rationality has a limitation, facts have limitation. Understood? So moral intuitionism basically opens a window of knowledge to you, that is also how you can access the knowledge of morality, that this is right and this is wrong, even though you may not explain that is right and that is wrong. Understood? Understood? So I will just give you an example. I remember, when I was a child, before going to college or something like that, I was discussing this with my friend, and that the doctors, that they can charge so much of fees. And my friend was of the opinion that doctors, they can charge as much as they want, because if they are skilled, that is what that they will charge. And I had this intuitive feeling that is wrong. They cannot charge as much as they want, and my friend was of the opinion that yes, they can charge because it is their right. They have, given so much of amount of hard work towards their degree and skill and everything. So that is why they can charge anything that they want. And I was of the opinion that it does not feel right. Okay, even though I did not have a lot of argument to actually, counter against that particular opinion, that why they cannot charge, whatever money, So basically it was more of a moral intuitionalism, because I was not able to defend. Probably now if we have the same argument, then I will give a lot of argument that, because of these and these reasons, that is why the doctor should not charge, whatever amount they want. Understood? So basically moral intuitionism is opening you to something. So basically in that context, even though I did not have a lot of logical argument to defend my opinion that doctors do not have unbridled right to charge whatever they want, still if I were a doctor, then I would not charge, because my intuition was not saying that. So basically that is a difference that is there, and the moral intuitionism actually asks you to actually look within at times, and when you do not have rational argument, logical argument, then that is what you can rely upon. Understood? In terms of making decisions. Understood? So that is the beauty of moral intuitionism, and of course the negative side is it is very much subjective. There is no methodology. I cannot teach you or you cannot teach me how to arrive at moral intuitionism. If I'm not feeling that this is not the right thing to do, you cannot convince me that this is the right thing to do, because it has to come from within. That is what the meaning of moral intuitionism. I should change my own opinion, based on reflection on everything. So that is the importance of moral intuitionism. After that, we discussed care ethics. Care ethics asked us that we should be more compassionate in what we are doing. We should look at things in a more holistic manner. Basically, we should, take care of the relationship. We should not look at the individuals from a singular perspective. They also have relationships, and that relationship may have impact on their well-being. So that is what we should look at. Understood? So care ethics is asking us that we should recognize our responsibilities towards our relationships, and we should be more compassionate towards the vulnerable section of the society, and we should help them. So that is what care ethics is all about. And in your case studies, more often than not, there will be weaker section of the society in your case study. More often than not, there will be private relationship in your case study, be it your wife, be it your family. Then you can always invoke the word care ethics there. Understood? In terms of when you are defending your argument that why you are doing what you are doing. Okay. Any other doubt? Any other doubt? Conscience we will discuss today. Don't worry. Any other doubt? No doubt? Because you did not revise. Okay, or you understood everything? You understood everything. Did you revise ethics and human interface? How many of you revised, honestly? And how many of you did not revise? हाथों खड़ा करो जिन्होंने नहीं किया. क्यों नहीं किया? आपने क्यों नहीं किया? What happened? Optional? हाँ? एंड और कौन थे यहाँ पे? आपने क्यों नहीं किया? आप उसे अटेम्प्ट देना भी नहीं नेक्स्ट ईयर. देना है? हाँ, तो फिर क्यों नहीं किया? बताओ तो. मॉरल इंट्यूशन. यू डिड नॉट फील लाइक डूइंग इट. अभी सर अंदर से आवाज नहीं आई रिवीजन करने की. मेंस के समय करेंगे, एनर्जी सेव करेंगे. मोमेंटम होना चाहिए उस समय मेहनत करने पे. अभी से क्यों एनर्जी लूज करनी है? नहीं. बताइए. Yes, EI is required for care ethics. Yes, so that is right. और किसी ने नहीं किया? आपने क्यों नहीं किया? दिवाली वाले लेक्चर्स कर रहे हैं और होली वाले भाई. ओके सर, आप ही कराओ तो करा दो, नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं है. You are like this. How many of the online students did not revise? How many of the online students did not revise ethics and human interface? ईमानदारी से बताइए. Why, Ankit? What happened? Kanak, did you revise? Vishesh, why did you not revise? Optional, forbid. Okay. When you talk about optional, then you will say ethics. For as a teacher of optional, you will answering ethics only. That sir, I'm busy doing ethics because I have to become the next philosopher. So I'm churning out new philosophies. See, when you're now we are approaching towards the end of these theoretical sessions, and it is important that you remember everything by heart. Then only you will be able to implement them in your answer writing. Otherwise, you will be looking at the screen, the model answer, just as that it is for the first time. इस Sunday सारा revise कर दूँगा. Okay, very nice. चलो अच्छा ही Sunday बोला. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं ये attempt तो दे लेते हैं, next attempt अच्छे से देंगे. That is what we feel. Just before prelims, many of the students feel like that. So I have this wonderful theory to discuss. Shall I discuss? So it is actually a reflection of virtue ethics only. Many of the students, when they are into multiple attempts of civil services, and of course, when they are facing failure after failure, they become distressed. Lot of mental anxiety is there because they are not getting success and everything. And then they decide, perhaps it is time that we should focus on other state civil services, and other examination for a career backup. And then when we get through those examination, when we get those job, then we will prepare, with full focus we will prepare on this examination, because that is what is actually lacking. And then usually, I'm not saying in all the cases, but I'm saying in most of the cases, they will not even qualify the state examination also. Because they are not working on the things that is holding them back in this examination also. The thing, you must rationally question yourself that what exactly is holding you back. Whether you are not revising on time, whether you are not writing sufficiently, what is it that is holding you back? Probably you are reading just too much. This examination does not require that you read too much. I am telling you this honestly. This examination requires whatever you read, you should revise it. You should be able to write that on the piece of paper in those 7 minutes. That is a challenge that is there. But when we have a lot of time, when we are planning the thing, then we just make the grand plan, as if we have 5 years. We will make all the grand plan. This time we will do this time we will do this, and we start doing that. After some time, we realize the time is not that, that much time you don't have, and then you don't even revise what you have studied. So all of that has gone to waste only. So we don't work within basically to qualify any examination. Any examination requires certain discipline. Any examination requires certain skills, be it problem solving skill, be it answer writing skill, be it revision, be it discipline. Until you work on them, unfortunately, you will not be qualifying any other examination. That is the hard reality. So no matter, how many examination you give, thinking that it have, bit lesser competition, it will not work for you. Mostly it will not work for you, until you are appearing in an examination that is far, far below your, caliber. That is different story, because that examination is waiting for you. Okay, that is different story. So the point is, you should not become escapist in nature. That just when prelims is approaching, many students call me, 1 month before prelims, 15 days before the prelims, that we shall, I'm thinking of dropping this year's examination because I just don't feel confident. And the thing is, what will you do with the remaining attempt? Because when you have examination on your head, it is more likely that you will study sincerely. When you do not have examination on your head, in most likelihood you will be wasting time only. You ask people what they are doing if they have failed prelims, what they are doing when they have failed prelims, and when they are appearing for the next prelims. That is when a lot of the time is lost. So basically, just like virtue ethics, excellence is actually the result of habitual action. So if you just become a good aspirant in terms of good habits, then you will be qualifying almost all the examination that you are writing. So that is what you need to work upon. Just shifting from examination to examination may not help you. Of course, it's a very generic advice that I'm giving. It may not be applicable to all of you, but at least to most of you it will be applicable. That that it is important that we work on our habits. Then on it, you just need to look at yourself, that what are your daily habits, what you are thinking subconsciously. One of the, I will give you a test, just like Gandhian talisman is there, so there is one talisman that I will just give you. If you just want to know whether you are sincere and focused or not with respect to this examination, I will just give you one test, very simple test. What do you think when you are in bathroom? Very simple test. Where your mind is when you are in bathroom? What are you doing there? What do you think when you are free, when you are not in class, not in library? What you are thinking? What are you thinking when you are eating actually? I'm just giving you very simple test. So when you are truly, when you are madly passionate about clearing this examination, then subconsciously or consciously you will be always thinking about that what is it that you want to do. So when you are in bathroom or when you are eating, when you are outside, this is what that should consciously, subconsciously, should go into your mind, that my target is this, today I have to do this, tomorrow I have to do this, or basically related to this examination. If subconsciously and in your free time your thoughts are thoughts that relate to civil service examination, then most likely you are a sincere aspirant. But what happens, we are only sincere when either we are in the class or when we are in the library, or basically our efforts are not channelized. So that is one of the way of just fizzling out your energy, just wasting your time and attempt only. So that is what you need to look at it, that what you are doing when you are actually free. No, and I dare say that no, the other parameter is what actually you are doing when you are actually studying. That is the first parameter that is there. So many of you, when you study, actually you don't study. You just open the book and you are thinking about anything else. Every 15-20 minutes you keep on scrolling Instagram only. You keep on scrolling something only, and that actually hurts a lot. Understood? So I'm not talking about that, because that is the bare minimum that you are supposed to do, that you have to study in the study hours, because your study hours are itself very less, 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever hours you are studying. I'm talking about a more focused approach, a more sincere approach towards your examination. When you have that, when you are in that zone, then innovation happen. When you are in that zone, interlinkages happen. When you are in that zone, you do something that is extraordinary. That is when great products are created, because now everything, you are thinking in the same direction only. You are not distracted. So just look at your thoughts, what you are thinking when you are not studying. And that will tell you where your heart lies actually. Understood? One test was there, many people ask that whenever you are in conundrum, that what we should do whenever you are faced with the dilemmas, or the choices, that whether I should do A or B. Then many people ask that you simply, make the toss. The toss you do is not for head and tail, that it will give you A and B. When the coin is in air, subconsciously you will want one particular item. That is where your heart lies. When the coin is in the air, what you truly want, that this should come, this head should come or tail should come, that exactly is the outcome that is more closer to your heart. Understood or not? So similarly, whenever you are free, whenever you are not studying, just watch your thoughts. Just watch your thoughts. Tum suno especially. Just watch your thoughts, what you are doing. If you are thinking about something else, then perhaps you are not just making the most of it. There may be immense opportunity cost for you. You are simply here. If you are elsewhere doing what you truly love, then perhaps you will do miracles. You should not be here just by force. You should be here by your choice. Understood? So that is that you should look at it in your free time. Always try to have right focus. Understood? Okay, so आगे बढ़ते हैं. And that is why, if you are in that zone, then of course you will revise also, you will plan also. And you will be more focused. You will be examining your attempt all the time, that what is it that you are making the mistake. Any attempt, if you are not examining it thoroughly, you will be committing the same mistake again and again, and you will be in that cycle only all the time. So when you are truly focused, truly sincere, then you will be examining yourself. Okay, this is the mistake that I did, last year, last week or last month, and I should not repeat this mistake. Understood or not? So that is very, very important. So I would just advise you that these are the months of October, November, December, January, which will create a lot of difference in terms of your mains preparation. Because between prelims and mains, you don't just have a lot of time. This is a time to gain excellence, and that is the time to... Another thing that I would like to discuss, I think that is very parallel to preparation. Shall I discuss? Am I wasting your time? No, sir. Pakka? Okay, so another thing that I want to discuss is that many of you are confused whether we should do answer writing or whether we should complete our notes. Many of you are confused into these two things with respect to other subject, because in this subject we have integrated both the aspect that we are covering notes also, we are covering the theory, and we are having the answer writing also. I'm talking about the other subject. So of course the best way is that you should do both. That is the best way. But then, you have just woken up yesterday only. Past 3-4 months, I don't know what you were doing. So you have woken up yesterday only that you have an examination to prepare. So that is why you don't have enough time with respect to doing all the thing. So then, I would ask you to prioritize completion of syllabus over answer writing. And the reason is very simple. The reason is, how does answer writing work? You tell me, how does answer writing work? Answer writing work, at various levels. At first level, you get a habit in terms of deciphering the question. Whenever you look at the question, you just get a habit, it's a knack that these are the parts and subpart of the question and this is what I should answer. And that is one of the greatest hack that is there. If you are able to decipher the parts of the question, answering question becomes very, very easy because you just have to fill a given a space because the space is very much limited. So that is the biggest challenge that is there. So subconsciously, a part is the answer writing skill. Answer writing is skill with respect to identifying parts of the question, how much part we should do, and when we are writing the answer, whether we are substantiating our argument with examples or not, whether we are writing qualitative content or not, understood or not, and whether we are writing fast enough or not in terms of completion of the paper. So these are the broad things, which actually help you in terms of your answer writing. And when you are doing answer writing very intensively, by intensity I mean that every day you are writing answer, 1 hour or 2 hours of answer writing is there. That is what I mean by intensity. So when you are writing every day, in your mind, suppose I'm talking about GS 1, 2, 3, in your mind there will be certain facts that will always be there. That will be always at the front memory. You will always recall those facts, and in fact you will use those facts across all the GS4 papers because you remember them so vividly. You remember them, that is in the active memory. Because it is there because you are practicing that very, very often. You are recalling those facts very, very often when you are doing the answer writing intensively. When you are writing the answer intensively, it will also help you in terms of completion of paper because your hand and everything, it will work like muscle memory. Lot of your answer will be the product of your instinct. I'm using the word instinct. As soon as you are looking at the question, your instinct is telling you that this is what you need to write because there is no time to think actually in the actual examination. So and you would want that you should reach that stage after a point of time. So that stage you reach only by putting in lot of intensive amount of effort. You don't reach that state, if you are just simply writing 1 or 2 answers daily. That is just harakari. You are just giving you, mental satisfaction that 1 or 2 answer I am writing. It is just like, taking that checkbox. So if you truly want to improve, you need to do that with a lot of intensity. And then only you will understand, oh, this is a mistake that I am committing and this is what I should not repeat. So the point is, when you do that intensively, when you do that continuously, answer writing will become instinct for you. Understood? And you will generate a kind of momentum that if you write a mains examination in between, it will just feel like that you are writing another examination. And that is why the time between prelims and mains, most of that time should be given to answer writing as far as possible. Because you cannot do that you are doing answer writing now and then you are leaving the content and notes, various topic incomplete, and then you are doing it between prelims and mains. Because that will backfire like anything. Whatever answer writing you are doing, no matter how much intensity you are putting in, you will not carry the momentum because there will be a gap of 3 or 4 months for prelims. You will not be able to carry that momentum in the actual examination hall. Understood? But between prelims and mains, if you do the answer writing very, very, very intensively, then it will help you tremendously because you will carry that momentum in the final examination. It will be just like extension of what you are writing for last, let's say 3 months. So I would rather prefer a situation in which I have completed all my subjects with respect to notes. I have notes, I have value addition almost in almost all the topic, PYQs thematic wise are prepared. So I would rather be in that situation in which I have notes prepared, and after prelims, my only job is that I should revise these notes and I should practice. I should revise these notes and I should practice. In practice, I just need to see whether or not I am able to replicate the notes and whether or not I am improving in my answer writing or not. That is the only thing that I have to do in those 3 months. Now, not even 3 months are there between prelims and mains. So I would rather be in that situation than doing lot of intensive answer writing now and not completing the coverage, and then between prelims and mains, then you are worried about coverage, because if you worry about coverage between prelims and mains, then what will happen? You will miss out on answer writing. You will miss out on building the momentum. And at times, improving answers takes time. So it will consume a lot of time and you may not be able to improve your answers or essay between prelims and mains. Understood? So if you have to choose between any of the aspects, then I will say that choose completion of the syllabus, making short notes, making value addition, choose that first. And when you are doing that, don't forget to go through PYQs. Between prelims and mains, PYQ should not appear that you are going through them for the first time. Because only when you are going through PYQs continuously, you will understand what is actually required in the examination. Understood? So between this time, just go through the PYQ on a regular basis, identify the theme, prepare notes on them, prepare value addition on that, and then after prelims, just implement the answer writing. Understood or not? So that is what you should do. Of course, it does not mean that we cannot leave anything after prelims. It does not mean. There is a lot of time, 2.5 months or whatever time we have. It is not that it is nothing. Lot of time is there. So if you have to cut down on anything, then I would say that in intensity of answer writing, because already you are doing in ethics, so ethics will be covered like anything. If you are revising at home and you put in requisite efforts, then ethics will be covered like anything. Then after that, probably you can leave internal security, the topic that you can leave as of now, because internal security, international relations, these are the topic, only four questions come in the actual examination, and you can cover that after prelims also. You go through any compilation and you can just cover them. But if you prepare them now, then you will just, you would like to become Shashi Tharoor when you are going to international relation, and it will consume a lot of time. So rather go through polity and governance, rather complete economic development, rather complete, Indian society for that matter, if you want to, because a lot of questions come from there. So those are the things that you must prioritize at this point of time. You should not try to complete everything if there is paucity of time. Of course, the best thing is that you complete everything, but if that is not possible, then, technology you can always read after prelims, because most of the technology will be reading for prelims only. Geography, history, that is something that you can read after prelims, because you will be reading that as part of prelims preparation only. So, as of now, your target should be that Indian economy, polity and governance, society, social justice, those things are covered. Security, international relation, technology. These things, if you are not having time, you can leave, after prelims. Understood? If you are not having time. But at no cost, you should leave too many topics for optional, because optional require depth. In GS, you can go through on a broader basis and you can still dump some point, and then you will get marks also. But in optional, it requires a lot of depth. So you should try to complete your optional. Optional should be the number one priority as of now. You should try not to leave any topic for your optional. Optional should be your number one priority. After that, ethics we are doing, and after that, the 3-4 things that I mentioned. This should be your priority. And after that, probably, answer writing we are doing. The answer writing that you will do, it will help you in other GS paper also, because you will be learning how to break the question, how to answer the question. So that skill you will be learning. So it will help you in other GS paper also. There is no doubt about, and of course in essay as well. So a lot of overlap, lot of value that you will derive from attending this course. And if you are doing that very consciously and sincerely, lot of value you will derive. Understood? But you must balance it with respect to your other papers also. And in those papers also you must prioritize. This is what I need to do. Understood? काफी इधर उधर की बातें होंगी. Okay. And prelims you plan whenever you feel like. I mean, it depends upon from individual to individual. Some people are comfortable in preparing for prelims in last 2 months, some 1.5 months, some require 3 months, some require 4. It depends upon your comfort level totally. So you accordingly plan, and after that you switch to prelims only. Understood? And you can have a gradual approach that initial first month of prelims preparation can be a mix of both prelims and mains, that you are giving 3 to 4 hours for mains and rest 6 hours for prelims. That can be a mix for initial 1 month, and later you are gearing more towards prelims and leaving your mains preparation. That is what you can plan. But you should not do this mistake of doing answer writing now and completion of the syllabus later. Complete the syllabus now, because you will be utterly confused after prelims otherwise, that what you should do, what you should not do. The single most objective after prelims should be revision and application. Revision application, that you should aim at. And of course, even though how much we try, there will be some topics that you will leave for after prelims, and you will be able to cover them, hopefully, if you don't leave too many topics. Understood? So that is why you should try. Okay. तो आगे का डिस्कस करते हैं, I think. Yes. Okay, so let's move to the next important topic. Sir, it is advisable to give 3 to 4 hours to optional during prelims. It depends upon your comfort level. For some people, you are comfortable in prelims by preparing for last 2.5 months. Then yes, you can give in January also, in February also. It depends upon your comfort level. comfort level. But suppose if I have to give, let's say, 4 months to prelims, then I would perhaps would like to taper that. That initial first month I will be giving 3 hours to my optional along with my prelims preparation. And if it is your first prelims, then you should give sufficient amount of time to the prelims. It requires a lot of effort. Can we handle essay after prelims? That you will figure out after prelims only. I cannot comment on that. How do I know? I don't know how you are writing. So how can I comment on that? But you want sugar-coated answer. Yes, you will be able to do it. Come on. Lot many people have done it. You will also do it. I just don't believe in that. I'm not that sort of person. You are asking the wrong person if you are looking for that. I was reading. एक बात और discuss कर लें. I was reading a book. I was reading a book. Last few days I'm reading a book. And that book is very beautiful. It gave a very good perspective. So it was telling about Buddha. The Buddha, the story of Buddha, when he was a prince and he was having all the lavish life, all the things, and his father, he built big, large walls across the palace so that the prince will not be able to see the suffering of the world outside, and he lives a very lavish life. But then, all that lavish life and everything, slowly, it just became meaningless to Siddhartha. And one day, he sneaked out of the palace, and when he saw the elderly, the old people, and the diseased person, and the sick people, everything, then he realized that, lot of dukh is there, lot of, sorrow is there. And ultimately, he embarked on that. He left everything and he embarked on the journey in terms of figuring out that what truly life is. What truly life is. And when he was doing that, he was doing a lot of control. He was not eating the things, and lot of self-control he was having. So he was living a life of asceticism only. And it was naturally having a lot of toll on his body and mind. And then one day just occurred to him that, the life is misery ultimately. Life is misery. So if you are alive, it just means that you will be having problems. It is very, very important. And this perspective, if we look at it, just by the face of it, because when we read it for prelims, we read like life is sorrow, life is having so many problems. We don't realize the gravity of the statement. And now when I was going through it, I suddenly realized, when I was going to my hometown on Diwali, I was just telling that to my wife that lot of misery is there because outside people, lot of poverty was there. And I was telling my wife that, they are suffering a lot. And then suddenly I realized after reading this statement, then is it the case that I am not suffering? Actually, everyone is suffering. I'm telling you, last 1.5 months has been very, very bad for us in terms of healthcare wise. And all of you are also suffering. So he gave this very beautiful example. A person with family suffers because there is a family, because he will have family obligations and he will be, sad when family members, leave them when they die. A person without family will suffer because he is not having the family. A person who is not having money will suffer because he is not having the money, he is poor, and his struggle will be different. But a person who is rich and who is having lot of problem, he will have other kind of problem, but he will naturally have problem. So basically, if you are alive, it simply means that you are having problem. So if all of you are thinking that if we just clear this examination, that life will be goody-goody and life will be very happy place for us, it is not the case. After you clear your examination, the other struggle that will start. What will your cadre? What is the service that you get? Right now you will be like, just naam aa jaye bhai, just my name should be there in the list. And when the name is actually there, then you will cry that, sir, the service is not there. When the service is there, then you will cry, the cadre is not there. So when the cadre is there, then you will cry, sir, cadre based management nahi ho raha hai. So basically, you will cry only. And that is the truth. So if we look at it from this perspective, that if we are alive, we are bound to face problems. If we look at it from this perspective, then perhaps, it gives us a lot of comfort that if you are going through whatever pain you are going through in your journey, then it is very much, it is very much part of your life, and this pain will stay. Only the form will change. When you become district magistrate, you will have other sort of pain, other sort of problems. You will have a lot of public pressure. Your MLA may humiliate you. Your MP may humiliate you. He may say some bad things to you, in front of everyone. So you will have a lot of other problems after you become a public servant. So as of now, we feel that, life is like when we clear the examination, it will be very good only. No, it is not the case. Life is when you are existing, if you are alive, that simply means you are having problem. And you would like, ideally, that you will have good problems to solve rather than bad problems to solve. Understood? Of course, the quality of problems are there. So that's the perspective that all of you should have. That even if the pain that you are going through, it will be part of your life. If not now, then after this examination also. It will always be part of your life, and that is how you should look at it. And that is the great wisdom of Buddha, that he realized that ultimately, if you are alive, it simply means that you will have a lot of sorrow, lot of problems. And the true happiness comes when you are solving those problems for you. So you just solve those problems for you, and then you will derive a lot of happiness. Understood? So that is the great thing that I was reading in that book. And in that book, one other aspect is that we are conditioned. We are conditioned in a way that people will say that you should do a lot of positive affirmation. Every day you should speak very, very positive thing that that I'm good and I will clear this exam or something like that. Every day, it is said the positive affirmation help and everything. Of course, they may help, they may not help. I don't know that. But the thing is, if you are truly happy, you need not confront the mirror every day to say that. If you are happy, you are happy. So don't fall into this idea of toxic positivism. That is asking you not to look at the problems, and confront them and then solve them. Toxic positivity will ask you that you should be positive, beta, irrespective of anything. Arey bhai, you will be positive when you solve the problem. Problem will not vanish by itself. That is the attitude that you should have. Of course, the positive attitude you should have in terms of solving the problem, but not in a way that everything will happen by itself. I just need to make good affirmations. It just does not work like that. If it works like that, then everyone will do that. Yes? So solve the problems, and that will give you true happiness, and struggle will always be part of your life. Be here, be elsewhere. If you are married, then there will be other sort of struggle. If you are single, there are other sort of struggles. Understood? And this example is more relatable to you, I guess. So struggle will always be there. Yes, that's why there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Yes, you understood. Are you single or in a relationship? That is what I would like to know. You seem to have understood of all the people. Okay, I think I should start the syllabus now. Huh? No, share nahi hai. I was feeling that, and when I was reading those lines, at that time only I thought that I will tell this to my student, that if they are feeling that they are suffering, then they should just remember that suffering is part of their life. They will suffer, after their journey ends, positively or negatively. Even after that, they will continue to suffer. So if you just embrace that and accept that, perhaps it will become much more easier for you to work hard, and let go of all the temptation that you are having. Yes. So, okay. So now another important syllabus term is there, that ethical dilemmas in public and private organizations. Yes, ethical dilemmas in public and private organizations. And it is very, very important to understand that how ethical dilemma can be different in the context of public and private organizations. Because usually if we look at the dilemmas, we usually think of them in a monolithic manner. We don't understand the different context that is there of private organization. The private organization has different context than public organization, and both these organizations have different context than non-government organizations. And that is why, since the context is different, there can be different ethical dilemmas. And if you do not have conceptual clarity, you will struggle to write ethical dilemmas when you are solving corporate governance case study. In 3 years back, UPSC asked this question in the context of COVID management, that if you are a manager of the public hospital, then what are the criteria that you will make in order to attend to the patient? And the second question was, if you are a manager of private hospital, then will your criteria change? So basically, you see, UPSC has very cleverly asked the same thing, that how exactly it will make a difference when you are managing a public hospital and then when you are managing a private hospital. How many of you have gone through this case study that I am talking about, COVID-19? बाकी लोग कब देखेंगे? Next year? देखो भाई अब basically public and private organization. Okay, so basically we must understand that how public organizations are different than private organization. Understood? And one of the important factor is their motive. Their motive is different. Public organization exists to serve public. Their primary objective is to serve public. On the other hand, private organizations exist to make profit. They exist to make profit. And what does it mean? It simply means that you can justify an action, or you can talk about the demerit of a chosen course of action or any option in the case of corporate governance case study, that this goes against profit making, and that is a legitimate criticism. That is what you need to understand, because when you are writing profit, when you are writing survival, you just feel financial viability, you just feel that your ethical side will not come out. It is not the case. On the other hand, it is your lack of understanding that is coming out. If you are not understanding that managing the finances of the private hospital is the responsibility of the owner only. And that is how the criteria will change when you are managing the private hospital from public hospital. Because in public hospital, you have lot of funds. Government have lot of funds. But in private hospital, you have to manage the viability of the hospital also. And that will make a lot of difference in terms of your criteria, that how will you attend to the patient. Understood? And that is a very legitimate criteria to follow, because ultimately it is your responsibility to ensure that the organization survives. Are you able to understand this part or not? Yes, so motive is very, very clear. The objective is very, very different. That public organization basically exists, in terms of making the public interest, meeting the public interest, and the private organization exists to simply, make profit. And that is why it is a legitimate objective. Of course, we'll discuss the means, that the means should be pure only, but the end of making profit is not illegitimate or is not bad. And that is what you must understand. Then, private organizations, they can always distinguish between their customers, and they can always create, a barrier that they will only provide their goods and services to those who can pay. No one can bar them. On the other hand, government organization, usually, it has to cater, the state has to cater to the citizens, and, whom the state cannot discriminate, usually cannot discriminate on the basis of capacity to pay. Are all the people who are not paying taxes, are they not enjoying the same law and order that other people are enjoying? They are enjoying the same law and order, even though they are not paying tax, they are so poor. So government cannot really differentiate between the people, oh, you are not paying the tax, then you should suffer like this. The government cannot discriminate like that usually. So that is the difference, that for state, you are citizens. And by citizens mean you have certain rights that are entitled to you, like you will vote and everything. And no one can discriminate, no one can do that, no one can snatch those rights from you because you are a citizen. The concept of citizenship is much more different than the concept of being a customer. Because to private organization, you are simply a customer, for whom, to whom the organization has to provide some services in order for the fees that it is collecting from the customer. So the relationship between customer and citizenship is very distinct. And that is what you need to understand, that how private organizations are treating the customers and how government organizations are, treating citizens. Understood? And that is why, citizen-centric administration, the term is there. Understood? Citizen-centric administration, the term is there because of that only, that usually the Bavarian bureaucracy, it was behaving in a very closed system approach. It was not catering to the citizens' needs and interests. It was simply implementing the rules and policies that have been made by political executive. It was just blinded by that. The focus was on ruthless, efficient implementation on the policies and laws that political executive have made. So there was no concern for citizens. That is what usually the bureaucracy, it was thinking. And that is why this term came, that the administration, it has to become citizen-centric. Whatever it is doing, it should do it from the perspective of benefiting citizens only. Its perspective should be citizen-centric administration. So from closed system approach, it should adopt an open system approach, and that is why citizen charter, social audit, RTI, making people participate in policy making and implementation, that is part of citizen-centric administration. Citizen charter, all of you know. What is citizen charter? Citizen charter is actually a concept of private organization. Originally this concept was not there in the government organization, the customer charter that was there. The concept was adopted. The NPM, the New Public Management, the philosophy was there that they will adopt some best practices from the private administration into public administration. Just as Waziram and Ravi is very centric towards the student, because that is, Waziram and Ravi is catering to whom? Students only. So it only need to cater towards the needs of students only. Understood? So it is very much centric towards the students' needs. Similarly, the administration, when states are doing their duty, police, school, hospital, they also need to have citizen-centric administration. And for that only, citizen charter was implemented. What is citizen charter ultimately? That it is a commitment between organization that is providing services, and the citizens, that is the quality and quantity of the services that you can expect from us. And in case we are not meeting that, then you can complain, and that is the grievance redressal mechanism that is there. So basically, we are making our administration, our services citizen-centric. Understood? And do you understand the difference that comes with citizen-centric administration from the closed system approach? Because earlier, I was just blinded towards the citizen. I was just ruthlessly implementing whatever the political masters were throwing at me. But now, I am looking at the citizen and seeing whether the policies I am making is relevant to them. Whether whatever I am doing, is helping them or not. Whatever I am doing, is actually leading to the outcome that we are intending. And that is why we will make them participate in social audit and see, whether you are truly benefiting from the policies or not. Understood or not? So that is a perspective that is there, citizen-centric. On the other hand, private organizations have customer-centric administration. For them, they are not catering to the wider citizenship, the people, wider citizenship is much more wider. Yes, but customers are very narrow. Only Waziram will have, limited amount of customers only, the people who have actually paid for the services that the institute is providing. Understood? On the other hand, citizenship is much more wider. Understood or not? So that is what citizen versus customers. Understood? The perspective is different. And the private organization can differentiate between the people who can pay and who cannot pay. And then legal framework. The public organizations, they are governed by rules and regulation, so much so that, that the famous saying is there, show me the man, I will show you the rule. So basically, those many rules and regulations are applicable in the context of public organization. But when we are talking about private organization, of course, law is applicable to private organization as well, but not to the extent as it is applicable in the context of public organization. For example, talk about Waziram and Ravi, the private organization. So when the organization is deciding the salary, or when the organization is recruiting, I think the organization has a lot of autonomy in terms of what it is doing. Understood or not? But you cannot do the same when you are in public organization. Even though you are district magistrate, you cannot decide the salaries of the teachers who are working under you. Because that is decided by government only. There is due procedure that you should follow. Every action that you are making, there will be laws, rules and regulations that will govern that decision. But suppose if you want to have classes tomorrow or not, we can decide that mutually, yes or no. But if government has to declare a holiday that we will not have class tomorrow, then there have to be some rules and regulation which will permit the principal or the district magistrate to have a holiday. There is a due process of that. So that is a difference. The context between public organization and private organization in the context of legal framework is different. Not to say that law is not applicable to private organization. Not to say that. Protection of women from the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act. It is applicable to both public and private organization. Understood or not? But law is applicable in a much more detailed fashion, and many laws are applicable when we are dealing with government organization. And not so when we are dealing with private. That is why when you go to SBI, you feel bit different in terms of the rules and regulations that are there. And when you go to a private bank, it is usually much more hassle free because they have streamlined their procedures, and so many things are there. Understood? So legal framework, and that is why usually, the innovation, risk taking and everything we don't see in government organization because they need to justify each and every action. We talk about this coal scam. One particular secretary, he was convicted basically for something that he said that he did in good faith only. That it was a bona fide mistake. So if CAG, CBC and CBI, if all the people are hounding you with respect to the decision that you are making, then it will make you risk averse only. Because there are so many rules and regulations that are applicable to you that whatever you do, it will. I will give you an example. In Prevention of Corruption Act, one section was there. In that section, it was written that corruption will be deemed that the corruption has happened if it serves any private interest. Now you imagine the definition of private interest. Almost anything can be subsumed within private interest. So basically, whatever you are doing, it can be held against you. And that will actually ensure that a government bureaucracy is not making decision because it is afraid of so many rules and regulations. So that is the context that is there. Legal framework context is there. Understood? आप मुझे remind कराना efficiency versus accountability. Okay, the theme I need to discuss after this. And then accountability. That to whom government organizations are accountable. So basically, the fundamental accountability to citizens only. Yes, and citizenship is much more wider in nature. But when we are talking about corporate organization, it has very limited accountability. You talk about this private organization, to whom it will be accountable? Perhaps to students, perhaps if there is any investor, perhaps to investor, perhaps to the employees. So there will be very limited set of stakeholders that will be there to whom the private organization is accountable. But when we are dealing with government, it is accountable to almost anyone. There are a lot many institutions that are there. Judiciary is there, tribunals are there, so many things are there. The media is there to criticize you, and so many ways, the government can be held accountable. That is not equally applicable in that same manner with respect to private organization. Understood? Then another important aspect is political context. And that is a very important distinction that is there between private organization and public organization. That in public organization, there is political context. The bureaucracy, no matter howsoever merit you have, you are acting under the supervision of political executive only. That is how it is structured. A secretary will be working under minister only. That is how it is structured. But in private organization, we do not have political context. Do we? We don't have any political context in the same fashion that the private organization have to report to the political executive and need to seek direction from them. Another important political aspect is, it is very important also between public and private organization, is that when private organization is taking the decision, it can ruthlessly implement the decision. If it is finding it rational, efficient, it will simply implement it. But for a decision to implement in the government organization, it must not just be legal, but it's efficient and whatever innovative you want to do, but it should also be politically acceptable. It should be politically acceptable. So a lot of subsidies are there. If suppose any private organization is running this country, then perhaps they will not find them viable to give. But government is not able to take those subsidies back, even though it is rational to do so because of vote bank politics and because of political context that is there. Government is not able to reform the reservation system, even though the idea of reservation is necessary, but the reservation system as a whole perhaps can be reformed because of political context. Even though in any other private organization, it would be reformed like anything. So the political context actually lead to lot many difficulties in terms of taking decisions. That context creates a lot of difference between public organization, and that is why even though the people you will talk about the great CEOs of different tech companies, the people who are meritorious and everyone having a lot of great degrees, but if you just make them secretary of the organization, they may not perform well because they don't know how to negotiate in this political context. All they have done is that if they are finding something rational, they can perhaps convince their board of director and the investors, which will be very few in number, because they will be thinking rationally only in terms of return on money and everything. But convincing people from the perspective of political context, it is a different ball game altogether. And that is why those people may not succeed in the political context. Understood or not? So political context is very, and that is why, the statement is there, often the statement is there that a bureaucrat, definitely he should be neutral. A bureaucrat must be neutral in its perspective, but he must understand politics. That is why it is said that he must understand politics. He must understand that what is viable and what is not viable. He must understand that. No, that is what it is said. Even though he is politically neutral, but he must understand politics, even though he is politically neutral. So that understanding is from that perspective only. Many of the bureaucrats write the answers for the ministers, because the opposition will be asking questions from them, from the policies. Suppose the law ministry or any ministry is bringing a policy, then opposition will be questioning them. So who is preparing the answers to those questions? Bureaucrat only. So bureaucrat must understand politics, even though they are politically neutral, but they must understand politics. So political context makes a lot of difference, and that is why, my dear students, if I ask you that you give me 3 cardinal foundational values for civil services, then non-partisanship has to be amongst these 3 values. If you simply give objectivity, integrity, and whatever other value, you are failing in capturing the essence of bureaucracy, the public bureaucracy, that it is working in a political context. And that is why non-partisanship has to be one of the cardinal virtue of civil services. Understood or not? And that is not required from the perspective of private organization. Private organization can align with any political party. You talk about Elon Musk, he's campaigning for Donald Trump like anything. They are not required. Huh? Dancing also, yes. So basically it is not required. Private organizations, I as a private citizen, if suppose I am running a company, I can fund any company I want, any political party I want. I just need to ensure that I am adopting the route of electoral bond. So the point is basically, the private parties, they don't require that they can have the alignment. And of course, there will be pros and cons for that alignment, the different story, but they can have the alignment. Fundamentally, they are not barred. But fundamentally, bureaucrats are barred. That is what we discussed in the context of non-partisanship versus impartiality, that non-partisanship is a negative concept. It just bars you. The attitude is this, that you will not align with any political party. Although you will understand politics, you will not align with the political party. Understood or not? So, political direction is very, very important. Then, scope of action. Of course, if you are talking about scope of action, the government has, far, far bigger scope of action. Even the scope of private organization is decided by government only. You talk about before 1991, very limited number of sectors were open to private organization. So the very scope of private organization is decided by public organization only. So government has far, far greater scope of action than the private organization. It does not mean that the impact is different. The private organization also have a lot of impact, but usually the scope is decided by public organization, the state only. Then public responsibility. Now usually it is said that that the private organization, they will solve those problems which will give them profit. Understood or not? Which will ensure that there is some return on them. But what about the problems which may not give immediate return? So those are the responsibility of public. So basically, there are certain things for which government is more responsible than private organization. Because private organization, we cannot perhaps contemplate that private organization will do something that is unviable in the first place. We cannot contemplate that, and that is responsibility of government. And that is why, in the various backward regions, the industry was not there and government had to give a lot of incentive to the private organization that you come here. It is because of that viability only. Understood or not? And that is the difference that is there between public and private organization. We talk about certain duties. Those duties, since we cannot distinguish between the people on the basis of capacity of pay, they are mostly provided by public organization only. You talk about law and order. Now, can we distinguish between the people who can pay or who cannot pay? In an area, in this Delhi, whatever law and order is there, the rich and poor will have the same law and order situation. Can we distinguish between the people that yes, China will attack you because you are not paying the tax? Can we do that? No. And since you cannot distinguish between those people on the basis of capacity to pay, it simply means that private organization will not enter that domain. Because otherwise, how it can provide the services to all the people who can pay or who cannot pay. So that is why those goods and services are called public goods and services that should be provided by public institutions. That is more a responsibility of public institution, and that is why healthcare and education is a public good. Because if suppose we believe, let us talk about healthcare. If suppose we leave all the healthcare to private organization only. If suppose, there is no government hospital. In the hypothetical scenario, there is no government hospital, there is private hospitals only. Then of course, private hospital will distinguish between those who can pay or who cannot pay. So where will poor people go? So will you not treat them? Who will treat them? And if you don't treat them, will it not lead to more communicable diseases? So basically it will be adding to the burden to the government only. So that is why public health and public education health are basically public goods and services, sanitation, environment. So basically there are many things that are more a responsibility of government than private organization. Because the private organization can distinguish and public organizations cannot distinguish between those who can pay and who cannot pay. So public responsibility is different thing, for public organization. And social consequences. Of course, not to say that a private organization do not have lot of consequences, but of course, public organization, even their single most decision, can impact, very single decision can impact millions and millions of people. You talk about the famous 8 p.m. announcement, one simple decision, entire economy was changed. So that is the power of public organizations, that it gives you so much of power that you can influence so many lives. Not to say private organizations do not have bigger impact, but usually the social consequence of the action is much, much higher in the context of public organization. If you are a DM, your single most decision that every employee should come on time, it can change lot many things for the millions of people who are residing in your district. Understood? So social consequence, it is a bit different. Then external financial control, it is very, very important. Public organization, since the money belongs to the public, and that is why, ministers, bureaucrats, they are using that money as trustee of the public money, trustee of the resources. They do not own the money. And that is why there are many checks and balances. No money will be withdrawn from Consolidation Fund of India except for a appropriation law. A law that provides for it. So you see the control of parliament over executive, that you cannot withdraw a single penny like this. So lot of control is there, CAG is there, so many agencies are there to actually question what you are doing. But is it the case in the context of private organization? That much of accountability, although yes, accountability is there. Yes, suppose I'm running a private organization and you are my investors and I have taken money from you, then of course I will be held accountable to you that how I'm using your money. But I will be accountable to you only. I will not be accountable to every person who is there in this ORN. Understood or not? So there is lot of external financial control. I gave you the example of my student telling me that he cannot order a laptop through the Amazon because there is a dedicated process for that. And that is the control that is there on public finance. We will discuss that later. So external financial control is another hallmark of public organization. And that is why dispersal of fund is very, very slow in the context of public organization. Any money, you just see any money that is coming out from public organization to you, it will have lot many procedures. You know, you'll feel like, bhai mat do mujhe. Understood? So that is there. Lot of procedure is there. Then monopoly. Public organization has monopoly in certain areas. No, certain areas, you know them, that no, it is monopoly. And it can maintain that monopoly. But private organization cannot do so. It cannot create something for its own. The government will always have upper hand. So monopoly decided by government only. So fundamentally speaking, public organization believes more in uniformity of treatment, compassion, democracy, social justice, transparency. But private organization is more focused towards efficiency, economy, effectiveness, profit maximization. And that is a fundamental difference that is there between a public organization and private organization. Understood or not? Can you see to some extent, you know, a degree of overlap that is there? I mean, the contrast that is there. Is it not something like bureaucratic attitude? If you just remove profit maximization, you know, efficiency, economy, and that is why it may not align with at times democratic attitude. I'll give you the example. In democracy, you would want that you should be responsive to the people. Yes, but bureaucracy wants to maximize efficiency. So now the discussion that you're supposed to remind me. Now that is why it is said that efficiency and democracy, you know, they don't go hand in hand. Because if you become too democratic, decision making will be slowed. Yes or no? Yes or no? So, and bureaucracy, it wants to maximize efficiency. So that is why it just, you know, close itself from everything, that we will take the decision ourselves. So that is why efficiency, you know, and democracy may not go hand in hand. Because democracy desires that you should be responsive to the needs of people. You should ensure uniformity of law. As a private organization, suppose I like your skill, then I will recruit you. And I will give you whatever pay, you know, that is decided between you and me. No, she cannot come and say, sir, why did you not give the same amount of money to me? No, she cannot claim that. Because I am taking decision in the best interest of my organization. But if I am, suppose, government organization, then I cannot pay so differently to him. It will be very, very difficult for me to justify. So because equality of treatment, uniformity of treatment, responsiveness are hallmark of democracy. Understood or not? If suppose I am taking too many doubts, you know, if I am becoming too much responsive, then it will affect the efficiency and the pace of the classes. Yes? So basically, if I become too democratic, you know, it can hurt efficiency in that context. So that is what the perspective here is, that how Bavarian efficiency may go against democracy. Understood? But at the same time, Weber also emphasized on accountability. He created that you should abide by rules, regulation, formal system, hierarchy, everything, because he wanted to ensure that there should be accountability in the organization. And that's why he created so many division of labor, hierarchy, rules and regulation, everything should be formal, everything formal, value neutrality, because no bias should be there in everything. So he wanted to ensure accountability also. And when you enhance accountability, what happens? You know, yes, efficiency suffers. And that is why in the government organizations, you know, usually you see there is, you know, slow decision making. Decision making is very slow because you have to satisfy so many interests. You have to be accountable to so many agencies, CBI, CAG, everything. And that is why usually it is said that efficiency and accountability cannot go hand in hand. Usually it is said that efficiency and accountability cannot, this is a very theme that is there, efficiency and accountability cannot go hand in hand. If you fixate too much on rules and regulation, then your efficiency will suffer. If you just feel like, if you have still not got the feel of it, just understand that you are a customer in SBI, you are going there and they are making you run from pillar to post because they are following all the rules and regulations. And you will be like, "Arey bhai, de dena loan, khatam karna." So that is what they learn, just give me the loan, have the single window clearance or something like that. And that is basically you telling them that be more efficient rather than more accountable. And what they are prioritizing is accountability, that if they are disbursing loan, that they should check every document and everything. So that is why usually it is said that accountability and efficiency do not go hand in hand, and that is why there is a section of people who will say that we should not become too much of formalist in nature, we can bypass rules and regulation to ensure there is efficiency, more efficiency, or perhaps we can promote small amount of bribe also to make people motivated. So that is the context of this debate. But then what will be your argument? That efficiency, the argument that you will write in the examination, that efficiency and accountability can actually go hand in hand. It depends upon leadership. It depends upon innovation. You talk about DBT, direct benefit transfer. It is a great example of efficiency and accountability. It was efficient. It ensured that the money reached to the people directly, and it ensured accountability also because of biometrics. It removed middlemen. Great example of efficiency and accountability. It depends upon leadership. You give the example of E. Sridharan. He was efficient and accountable. So yes, efficiency and accountability can actually go hand in hand. Understood or not? The same theme I discussed in my previous batch also, and I gave this question in the full-length test. And I am telling you, I think in only 20 to 30% of the answer script, I found the case study of DBT. Because when you are reading, it will be there in your notes, but it will never come to the examination hall when you are writing the answer. And then you will guess for the good case study or good example in that context. So it is a very good theme that is there, that how efficiency and accountability at times may be at loggerhead with each other, and how you have to resolve it by being more innovative, by using technology, leadership and everything. Understood? So that is a great theme that is there. And that is why, you see the public organization, although we have discussed the interface between public and private organizations, that how different they are, yet, the public organization is adopting various features of the private organizations. Yes, it is adopting various features of the private organizations. And profit maximization, even though profit maximization is not the chief aim of the public organization, yet there is profit targeting. What else is Maharatna, Mini Ratna, Navratna? They are differentiation on the basis of profit only, profit and other economic parameters only. So basically, yes, it is adopting various good practices from the private organization. Lateral entry is an example of that. Adoption of technology, innovation is an example of that. DBT is an example of that. So public organization is Fiducian Charter is an example of that, where public organizations are adopting various efficient measures of private organization. At the same time, private organizations are also encouraged to be more empathetic, that they should also take care of the society, public, CSR provision that is there in your Companies Act. So basically, both the organizations are trying to, learn from each other in terms of improving their effectiveness. Understood? Understood the difference between public and private organization, how their chief values will make sure that there is different decision making in different contexts. Understood how both organizations, are actually adapting the good features from each other. Yes, in the context of public organization, now we know. And we also discussed that in the context of public organization, usually it is said that because public organization accountability is very, very important. Bavarian bureaucracy, chief hallmark is accountability only. And it is very, very important. And because of that, we are very slow. And since we are very slow, it will be very difficult to make efficient administration. And that is what is said, that efficient and accountability don't go hand in hand. So you have to let go of some form of accountability so that there can be flexibility. But then you will argue against it because it is because of this accountability mechanism only, that there is not lot of inefficiency. Because ostensibly, again, you will break the rule first for the efficiency, but later for corruption. You will want that you will not note anything. I will make faster decision. Just allow me that I need not note anything on the file. Then what will you do? You will do corruption only after some point of time, and that will be more inefficiency. In the name of efficiency, you will start that. Allow me to bypass the written rules and regulation. Allow me that I should not note down filings. But after that, since you do not have this accountability mechanism now, the human instinct will kick in, and then you will do corruption, and that will be more inefficiency. That is what you need to argue, that accountability mechanism will ensure efficiency in the long run. It is just that we need to be more innovative, more creative. Leadership has to follow that. We need to employ technology in ensuring that efficiency and accountability goes hand in hand. That should be your conclusion and the case study I gave you. Understood? Yes or no? और ऑनलाइन वालों समझ में आ गया? Yes.
Both the concepts are conflicting each other. Means sometimes efficiency need to be go with accountability, and sometimes efficiency need not to be go with accountability.
What did you understand? Why I have discussed this? You tell me that first.
So what I mean, if we are
What you understood is a separate issue. Why did I discuss this concept? First you tell me that.
sir, the difference between private organizations and public organizations.
That is gone. Why did I discuss this concept, this context of efficiency versus accountability? What is the context?
Sir, in terms of values.
What is the context? The context is this, that bureaucracy excessively emphasizes on accountability, and in the process of that it becomes inefficient because it will be following too much of formalism, too much of rules and regulation, emphasizing on too much of hierarchy, or because if it makes the decision, there will be accountability mechanism, CAG will be there, CBC will be there, CBI will be there, and it will be vary of decision making. It will not make faster decision making. You will see a lot of decisions that are pending. So that is why it is said that your accountability mechanism are making your organization slow. So the question will come that whether we can let go of the accountability mechanism, or whether accountability and efficiency can ever go hand in hand. So now what will your argument? If suppose in UPSC interview, I am asking you this question, whether we should just, remove some of the accountability mechanism of the bureaucracy, whether we should loosen the accountability grip on the bureaucracy, what will your response?
Sir, we can loosen some form of accountability to the efficiency of bureaucracy.
That should not be your answer. That is what I am telling you.
Sir,
That should not be your answer. That is what I am telling you. Because if your answer is this, yes, that we should loosen, the accountability mechanism because we need to promote efficiency, then basically you are taking the shortcut here. The shortcut is that yes, there should be some little less application of rules and regulation here, and that is why you will perhaps want there should be more discretion to you. You need not take approval from your seniors every time. You should make decision, and you should not be held accountable for that, because that is how we are losing the grip of accountability. And you will justify that in the name of efficiency. But what will happen? That is a slippery slope you will enter. So ostensibly you will want that grip to loosen a bit for the good reason, but later you will misuse that for corruption only. And ultimately in the long run it will promote inefficiency only. So the answer should be that, sir, it is not always, between accountability versus efficiency. The good answer of interview will be, perhaps we need to redefine the accountability mechanism, and we need to be creative enough in order to find a, sound balance between efficiency and accountability. For example, just like we did in the case of DBT, just like we did in the work culture difference that were created by E. Sridharan, just like T. N. Session made Economic Election Commission more efficient. So basically, lot of these examples will show that how accountability and efficiency can actually go hand in hand. It is more about the actual application of law, rather than the using them to just obfuscate efficiency. Understood or not? Yes. That Kanak is a very good example. EFIR, zero FIR, very good examples. Yes. single window mechanism. So basically administration is reforming itself to ensure to find balance between accountability and efficiency. My dear student, in this context only, I will give you another question, PYQ question only, that in doing a right thing, suno bhai dhyan se, in doing a right thing, everything is permitted. In doing a right thing, everything is permitted. What is the context of that? The context is that only that usually bureaucrat finds that rules and regulations are there to restrict them from doing something. That I will not take decision because later on inquiry will open and I will be held accountable for that. So rather I will sit on the file. So they will be like that I will not make a decision. But it is telling you that rules and regulations are there to help you to take decision. They are not there to constrain you. It is just that you need to find that how you should implement those rules and regulations. So in doing kya tha line? In doing good, everything is permitted. So basically, if you are doing something for public good, then rules and regulations will support you because you will have lot of discretion. Did we have constitutional amendment before we had TN session? Did we have constitutional amendment? No, same rules and regulations were there. But he implemented them in a way to enforce positive social change. Understood or not? That is what did we change constitution for, let's say, Delhi Metro? So that is what we need to understand. That in doing something good, everything is permitted. So basically, you need to look at rules and regulation as a positive way, that if your attitude is positive, you will use them to enforce some positive change. They will not become constrained. You will find a way to implement to do the right thing. And a negative minded bureaucrat will be, no, I will not take decision. So many rules and regulations are there. No. So that is what I am telling, that yes, accountability and efficiency can go hand in hand. And that should be your answer. Not, sir, no, we can do away some of the accountability. Always look for such trap whenever they are asking you such questions. Understood? Now have you understood truly? Any other doubt? This is a very, very important theme that we have just discussed. Any other doubt online walo? Yes, Gati Shakti portal, everything, it is. Yes, Manish. Any doubt online walo? Have you understood? Vishesh, Kanak, everyone, have you understood this part? This is very, very important concept. Ji.
Can we justify the PDS or the examples in this statement?
In PDS example, we will find a way. The case study was not finished. We will find a way to help that lady to some other mean, because rules and regulation will give you some flexibility in one way or other. Yes, the discretion is always there. Understood? So this context is very, very important, that efficiency, and similar context is that if we are too democratic, then our GDP growth will suffer. Something like that. The GDP growth rate and democracy don't go hand in hand. Because if you are too democratic in the sense that, whatever decision making you are doing, if you are more responsive to the public need, that the government had to roll back, let's say, farm law, subsidies, everything, because it has to be responsive to the public need, it has to be democratic in that sense, then you will not be swift and efficient with the decision making, and that will make you slow. So another debate that is there, that can be asked by the UPSC, that democracy and development don't go hand in hand. In a very crude way of understanding this, that the fast progress of this class and me responding to every doubt don't go hand in hand. This is a very crude way of understanding the same thing. So democracy, if government start listening to every section of the society, then it will not be fast in terms of implementation of developmental projects. Because if it's implementing a project, either it will be, displacing tribals or going against farmers or doing something that is going against some section of the society. And if it listens to every protest with that much interest, then GDP growth rate will suffer. Understood? So that is the context of this. I'm not saying this is right. Again, I'm telling you, आपका face से मुझे कुछ बहुत अच्छी vibe नहीं आ रही है. Let me just make it very much clear. I'm just building a context to a debate. I don't believe in this. आप यहाँ से काट के इसको चला दो. ठीक है, क्रूड वे में ऐसा कह रहे थे सर कि डाउट नहीं देखना और ये सब नहीं देखना. ठीक है, सो आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट, इट इज जस्ट ए कॉन्टेक्स्ट. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? आप पोकर बहुत अच्छा खेलेंगे, पता है आपको. Poker. You will play poker. You don't play. You should try. You have great aptitude of becoming a great poker player. Have you gone to Goa? You go there. Lot of poker games are there. You will win big. Far more that you will do anything in civil services. Okay. So let us come back to the debate. So the debate is that democracy and development don't go hand in hand, and that is why people give example of China. That China was able to implement so many economic projects because it was not democratic. It was able to achieve faster economic growth because it was not democratic. On the other hand, in India, you will see lot of protest. Government is not able to implement its reform agenda because of that. Understood? So this is the context. Now, what did your response in interview? Suppose this is a question that the UPSC interviewer asks you. That what is your name? Mahesh. That Mahesh, the democracy, it is hurting us. That is how they start actually. Let me complete my question. Don't interrupt. Another golden rule for interview. Okay, let them complete the question. Okay, they will give you 3-4 statements, then they will ask the question. That is usually the way they ask the question. Though elderly people, they have so much to say. So they want to say so many things, and ultimately you will be confused what was the question that was asked. So at times I had to ask them, sir, this is a question that I have to answer. Yes, Piyush, this is the question. So Mahesh, so that is how they will ask you. You see, we are too much of democratic country. Whatever we want to do, we will see protest against anything. We wanted to reform farm sector, we saw protest for 1 year. And government, unfortunately, had to bend back, had to roll back the laws. Do you think we can ever be, a developed country? That is how they will ask you, with that much of emotion. Now you answer.
Sir, because of the diverse viewpoints of Indian society, as you said, development in GDP growth and democracy cannot always go hand in hand.
Yeah. That is what I am saying. That because of we are democracy, that is why we are, we are not developed so much. Even though we had great people like you.
You give an example, I didn't remember exactly.
No, don't remember any example. Just give me this. What is your response? What will you say?
Sir, I am not agreeing with the concept that democracy and development always go in hand in hand. Means it does not always have a positive consequences.
That is what I am telling you. That should we just do away with the democracy? Little bit doing away with democracy. Not all. We will still conduct UPSC interview. We will not recruit people from Nagpur. We will still conduct. We will still conduct UPSC interviews. Yes. But yeah, I mean.
Sometimes we need to do the people's concerns also about.
But it will be against development. If we listen too much, then it will stall the GDP. That is the argument.
Sir, everything we need to balance at someone, sir. How do we go in a rigid manner?
Yes, very good answer. That the idea of that development is exclusive. That is not the true development. Perhaps you are looking at economic growth, but it is not development. It will create more inequality only. So inclusiveness will suffer and sustainability will suffer. It will not be sustainable also. And that is why, even though democracy, at the face of it, it may just look at it, we just look at it, we may feel that it is hurting developmental growth, but it is ensuring robust growth in the sense that it is more inclusive and sustainable. So, in the crude example of our class, if I just complete the syllabus in a very faster manner without responding to your doubts, then what is the purpose of this class? So, should I just have to finish the syllabus? That is my prime objective. My prime objective is to make you learn. So, that objective will not be fulfilled. So, what we will do with that kind of development, that will be the answer. Understood, sir? Mahesh ji, interview se bahut dur ho aap abhi. You need to... Yes. Understood, everyone? Understood? So, that is a great... this is a question that was asked in case study also by UPSC. In one of the case study it was there. One of the argument was this only. All of you are able to understand this debate, both the debate? Yes? Mahesh ji? Understood? Ikka aa gaya. It is like that. Yes.
Can we also think the development administration in democratic attitude?
Development is a reform only, another concept. ना इंटरव्यू आंसर में तो ऐसे कॉन्सेप्ट यूज भी नहीं करने हैं आपको जबरदस्ती के. Don't make the answer academic. Understood? Because if you make it academic, then they will make sure that you do PhD on it by asking you so many questions. Okay, I think can we discuss for? Okay, I think you have to note it first. Lot many important themes we have discussed in this discussion. I hope you have noted them down. They are nothing but potential questions. Some of the questions have been. इसके ऊपर तो कुछ नहीं था. The very scope of action, Ananya, is decided by government only. If government just want, it can revert back to license quota Raj. That in only these many sector, private sector will operate. Can you just repeat legal framework part? I missed. Hey. Okay, which part? Legal framework part. So entire discussion on accountability versus efficiency was on legal framework only. That I am not able to take decision because so many laws are applicable to me. That is the concept, that is the perspective of legal framework. Legal framework part is this only because there are so many rules and regulations applicable. So bureaucrats just fear taking decision because they fear that somehow they will violate a law if they take decision. So rather it is better that we sit on the files and not take any decision. That is the core concept of there. Because of so many rules and regulations are applicable, because the emphasis is there on accountability, and because of that efficiency will suffer. So the entire discussion was on that only. And that is more so in the context of public organization. In private organization, of course, laws, rules and regulations are applicable, but not to that extent. For example, the Vice Rabi can decide whom to hire, whom to fire. It can do anything basically, But if you become an IAS officer, government, it is very difficult for government to fire you, unless you become actor or something like that. Okay. Yeah, next question. In doing good, everything is permitted. See, I have not talked about the entire question. That is the context of that question. The entire question I don't remember, so we will discuss that in section A only. In social consequences is basically whatever the government is doing, the consequence is higher. A very simple act can have larger consequences simply because you are taking decision on the behalf of so many people. How many district magistrates are there? 700. Entire 1.4 billion people. They are governed by 700 people. If district-wise, if I'm just looking at it. So you imagine the kind of consequences, and how many private sector employees are there? How many faculties are there? You see. So the inconsequential work, the consequences are not that great in the context of, at times, private sector. Yes. Any other doubt? Any other doubt? Sir, is it like that in every theme question, solution lies somewhere in between, blending both concepts? It depends upon the question. How can I answer generically? It will depend upon the question. Supreme Court expanded the judicial review to private entity. It shows widened public responsibility. Yes, but to a limited extent only. Private entities, they are not governed still in the same fashion that public sector is governed. I just give you the example that the private institutions, it can differentiate in terms of salary, but all the IAS officers, they will be getting the same salary only. If they are in the same batch and everything. So there are not so much of flexibility that is there in the context of government organization. The reservation is there. Private sector is no application of reservation. So a lot of flexibility is there in the context of private sector. So law, rules and regulation has far greater impact on public organization in terms of decision making. Ankit Mishra doubt. We need to focus more on other side argument of 50-50 weightage. It depends upon the question, how many questions and subparts are there in the question. Ankit, we will discuss that in the context of section A. Okay, so any other doubt? Any other doubt online walo? Any other doubt? The one who asked the question with respect to legal framework, did you understand? Who asked that context? Yes, you can do that, Kanak. Sir, are you saying development breeds inequality? I'm afraid of you. I'm not saying anything. In the beginning only I told you that is a perspective that is there. That democracy and development, if you become too democratic, it will slow down development. So I'm saying that if you are undemocratic, then it will create inequality. That is what I'm saying. Understood?
Sir, partnerships are a good example for where efficiency and administration.
Yes, it is a good example of that. That where, yes. Okay. Yes. Lot of democracy. Yes.
Sir, when we are comparing on the basis of accountability in public and private, in terms of regulations and rules, obviously the public sector is more scrutinized and has more accountability. But when we come to repercussions on an individual who's working for public versus private, sir,
I'm listening.
isn't the accountability more in private sector than the public sector?
Accountability is not enforced in a practical way in public sector. Theoretically, accountability is much more in public sector. It is enforced very easily in private sector. Suppose all of you just go and complain to Randhan sir, the Piyush sir is not teaching us well. There will be some repercussion for me. Understood? So accountability is enforced automatically. Yes, if suppose all of you go to the FDM of or the DM of this district and say FDM is not working well, he will not even hear you. Listen, so accountability is more, but it is not implemented. That is downside of it. So even though many bad things are happening, DMs are not getting transferred. They are just there. Understood? So accountability mechanisms are more, but they are not implemented. That is downside of it. You need to understand the difference between what is theoretical and what is practical. We are discussing theoretically. Theoretically, bureaucracy is held more accountable. Theoretically, if judiciary start taking suo motu cognizance everything, you will see many cases against many officers. But it is not getting implemented, and that is why we see a lot of corruption. People are having blatant corruption. Dowry is there. Yes, will you take dowry? You got any brother? Any brother who got married? Any cousin who got married? No? Safe side. Anyone in your family got ever married? Parents got married? Yes, I know that. I hope I know that. Yes. Only that example you know. How innocent he is. Okay. There is no dowry in that. Okay. I am relieved. But I am talking about, usually a lot of dowry is there. It is illegal. The repercussions are there for private individuals also, but it is not implemented. That is a separate issue. Okay? Okay, so I wanted to discuss another concept that is not here. Okay? And that organization is NGO. So we have discussed public organization, we have discussed private organization, and now we will discuss NGOs, non-governmental organizations. So how exactly NGOs are different than public organization and private organizations? Authority? कैसे? तुम बोला करो सर मैं डीएम हूँ, मैं तो डीएम बन नहीं सकता ना अभी तो मैं डीएम हूँ. Okay. So basically the difference between, legal framework is also there. Yes, Manish, you are right. So, see, in the context of public organization and non-government organization, Vishesh, that is just an application of them. That is not a fundamental difference. No. Understood? So, abhi discuss kare. Okay. It is not there in your notes, so you have to write also after some time when I am done speaking. So, NGOs, how they are different than public organizations, because they are also, indulging in public service. Yes? How they are different? Yes. So, one of the important attribute of the NGO is voluntary formation. That people voluntarily do that. They have this voluntary nature. That is one of the fundamental aspects that make them different, voluntary and autonomous nature of their functioning. Government organizations, even though, they are dedicated towards public service, they are not autonomous. Understood? They are not autonomous. Am I giving you ideas by saying that all of you can go to Ravindran sir and complain? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so basically the NGOs, they can be, they are voluntary and autonomous nature is there. The government organizations, even though they are also geared towards public service, and yet, they are not exactly voluntary, they are not exactly autonomous in nature because they are controlled by so many rules and regulations. Understood? So that is a difference that is there between public organization and non-government organization. Another difference is, another very, very important difference is that when an NGO is formed, when it is registered, it has to submit the objective of it, that for what end you are constituting an NGO. For what end you are constituting an NGO. So the NGO, it has to give that purpose, the objective. And it has to abide by that purpose. That is the single most fundamental difference that is there with respect to public organization and private organization, because public interest is a much, much broader term. In the context of, they can do anything basically in the name of public interest. Similarly, in the context of profit maximization, they can do anything, but NGOs, they have very specific objective. For example, I'm giving you an example. Suppose I'm building an NGO for healthcare services. Suppose, then all my activities should be geared towards healthcare services only. It is not that tomorrow I decide that tomorrow I will be a great educator. Broadly I'm saying. So basically NGO has to abide by their objective simply because NGOs are run by donations, and when they are taking donations, they are telling the people that this is what our objective is, this is what we are doing, and they have to be accountable for that. It should not be the case that I am taking money from you saying that I will be doing certain things in healthcare, and then I am using that, let's say, for teaching. Although you may say, sir, both the things are social service only. No, my dear friend, it is different. It may be the case that, this person has more value. The concept of healthcare is more close to his heart than education. And he has donated to my NGO for that only. If he were to donate for an NGO that is geared towards education, then he will donate to the NGO that is geared towards education. Why he will donate to me? And that will be betrayal of him. So that is why one of the important aspects of NGO is that NGO must use its funds and everything basically for the objective for which it has been created, voluntary, and it must have autonomy to run itself. There should not be so many regulations that should govern its activity, and that is how it is different than government organization. That it has autonomous functioning. Government organization, there is a lot of control that is there, and that is why there is a lot of talk that PSU should be given some autonomy and so on and so forth. But basically NGOs are much, much more autonomous in their functioning. And they are abided by the objective, and that is why you see, July or August, the MHA, it ordered probe against an NGO because it actually used the fund in some other objective. That was also noble objective, but it was not the objective for which it was registered. So it is a proper crime to do that. That even though the objective is noble at the face of it, you cannot go beyond that. So because ultimately you have to justify for what is the objective of your creation. And for that only you will collect the funds and you will be accountable for that. Understood? So in the framework of NGO, voluntary formation is very, very important. Autonomous functioning is very, very important. Following the objectives of the NGO for which you have formed the NGO is very, very important. And using the funds that you have got from donation for the objective for which you collected the funds is very, very important. Understood or not? So that is how NGO, and of course NGO is different than private sector, that it is not for profit organization. The very the simple difference that is there. So now all of you understand how NGO is different than government sector, and that is why And that is why, my dear students, when you see that NGOs are misused, for money laundering, NGOs are misused for terror financing, NGOs are misused for so and so forth, still, if government is not able to, create a very, I should say, a law, that is very much restricting in nature. Apart from FCR is very much restricting in nature, but the NGO itself, it does not have that much of a law, that will make it severely regulated, because it cannot just control the autonomous nature of it. It must allow some flexibility in terms of its functioning. Understood? And whatever criticism you hear of FCR and everything, it is because of that only that it is, controlling too much of NGO. Because ideally they should be autonomous in what they are doing. Understood or not? Another important ethical part of the NGO functioning is that NGOs are not the place for earnings. No earnings. Basically, I cannot be, the founder of the NGO and taking, let's say, 5 crore rupees of a salary. I cannot do that. Because if I am working in an NGO, by definition, I cannot draw hefty salary. Because NGOs are not career choices from the perspective of remuneration. You are not here to build your career for the perspective of course, career is there, but for the perspective of remuneration. Just like in private sector, you work hard because you get a lot of salary and hike and everything. But in the context of NGO, it is very, very different. And that is why, my dear friend, you see there is a limit on administrative expense as part of total expenditure. The NGO cannot say that we got, let's say, I collect 1 crore rupees from all of you, and I'm building an NGO, and I'm spending 75% of that fund on administrative expenses. What are the administrative expenses? I'm giving salary to my wife, to my brother, and all the colleagues that I know, and I'm giving them a lot of salary. Why it is wrong? Why it is wrong? Because I'm not using that money for the purpose for which I've constituted the organization. And that is why there is a limit on the organization that how much of the money can be spent on administrative expenses. Basically, you cannot give yourself or anyone hefty salary. It is the NGOs are not the platform to earn hefty salaries. If you want to earn hefty salary, go to private sector. Understood? That is another ethical aspect of NGO functioning. That whenever you are working, you need to ensure that you are working for the objective. Most of the funds should be used for the objective for which NGO are created. The administrative functioning should be limited to the functions that are necessary for the survival only. Understood? Understood or not? So these are some of the other aspects NGO will discuss in the NGO case study. But these are some of the aspects that how NGO is different than government organization and private. In private organization, you can earn a lot of money. But in NGO and government sector also, you cannot earn a lot of money. Of course, many of you will disagree with me in the context of government sector. But yeah, legally you cannot earn a lot of money. The salary difference is, a lot of salary difference is there. Yes? So, because government organizations are not the place to earn money. You are not there to earn money. And that is why the salaries are not at par with the private sector. Understood? And similar concept is there in the context of NGOs, that when you are working for an NGO, you are not there for the money, you are there for the cause for which NGO was created. Understood or not? So that is something that you can discuss about NGO. Now, noted? Now let us talk about that why we should follow ethics in public administration. Why we should, and some of the aspects we already know, don't we? Some of the arguments we already know. What are those arguments? In which topic we studied those arguments? Yes, consequences of ethics. Maheshji, you are good now. Yes, you are revising. Huh? Yes. So, it is for consequences of ethics for organizations. So, if they want to be efficient, economic, want to retain and attract best talent, they have to be efficient. But then I discussed, then we are talking in a very generic sense. We are talking in a very generic sense. I am not differentiating in the context of public organization and private organization. Understood? So now let us now differentiate in the context of public organization, private organization. In the context of public organization, some of the argument we have already discussed, like why we should have non-partisanship, why we should be objective, why we should follow objectivity, why we should follow empathy and compassion, why we should follow dedication to public service, that we already discussed. So some of the argument we have already discussed. Now let us discuss some of the more broader argument that why we should follow ethical standard in public administration or bureaucracy. Understood or not? Understood? So some common argument we have discussed, some specific argument with respect to values we have already discussed in the context of foundational value for civil services. Now let us discuss some more specific argument that why we should follow ethical standard in public administration or in bureaucracy. And one of the bigger argument is that you should be ethical because you are trustee of the resources. When you are managing the funds, those funds do not belong to you. Someone has given you that authority. As trustee of those resources. And that is why you have to act depersonally. That is why you have to be neutral while you are dealing with the funds. You cannot bring your own personal interest and say, कि मैं भी तो गरीब हूँ, I am also poor. If poverty illusion is there, then there should not be poverty in my home also. You cannot say that. Understood? Mahesh ji, समझ में आ रहा है? This argument understood? So, trustee, very, very important. That is why we should not do in the case study when you will be given an option that you will get money and everything. That is what you need to give. That we cannot do that because as public servant, we are trustee of the resources. We are using these funds as the trustee of the citizens. Understood? And then, of course, large scale impact. I gave you the example. If you are lazy, incompetent, at the most you will be hurting yourself, maybe your family to some extent. But if you become a lazy collector or an incompetent collector, you will be hurting millions of people. Understood or not? So that is why whatever you are doing will have large scale impact, and that is why even the small bribes, will have large scale impact because they may become precedent, they may vitiate the work culture, or they may, make the work environment exploitative with respect to weaker sections of society. And that is why small action can create large impact. And that is why you have to be mindful of what you are doing. Even smaller steps can have larger consequences. Understood or not? So that is the perspective, large scale impact. Understood? Then huge discretionary power. No matter how specific laws are, no matter how detailed constitution is. Our constitution is one of the biggest in the world. So no matter how specific laws are, how big constitution is, still you will be given discretion. Discretion to use rules, discretion to use constitution, discretion to use everything. And how you use that discretion will be decided by your morality, your ethical perspective. So the reasonable restrictions that are there, how you are using them. Sedition case is there, Sedition Act is there. So Sedition Act, whether you are imposing Sedition Act on the journalist because he is criticizing you, that will be decided by your morality, because that is how you will be abusing that. A speaker has power to decide a bill as money bill. How speaker is using that power will be decided by discretion only, his sense of morality only. Yes or no? Ordinance making power is there of president and governor. President rule is there. So basically whatever law you are talking about, you will have discretion. Section 5(3) of RTI Act, that PIO will provide reasonable assistance to the RTI applicant. Now, what is reasonable assistance? To what extent you will go to define reasonable assistance will be decided by your sense of morality. And that is why it is important that you should be ethical. A negative minded officer will interpret reasonable assistance like, अब बता तो दिया मैं PIO हूँ, इतना बहुत है, मुझे देनी है फाइन इनको application. Yes, they have to give application to me only. So that, that person will have that sort of understanding of reasonable assistance. Another term is there that whenever Official Secret Act and public interest, if it outweighs public interest, if public interest outweighs, then the PIO can disclose. The negative minded officer will be like, no, it is not outweighing. For the purpose of efficient conduct of this examination, it is important that UPSC will not show you your answer script or will not tell you your answer key. It entirely depends upon the context. So basically, your sense of morality and ethicality will decide how you will be actually applying the law, even though the rules and regulations are same. Now are you understanding the same question that was there? So that is why, since you will be given huge discretionary power, and that is why it is important that you should be ethical, because how you are using that discretion will be decided by your sense of morality and ethicality basically. Understood or not? So that is why you should be ethical. Then you have obligation under social contract, because whatever authority you are having, you are deriving it from the citizens only, and they are paying you taxes also. Many of the district collector, they behave like a king only, and they believe that they are doing some charity. They don't realize it is their money only that they are using. Understood? You have seen, so at times, they harass people, from corporate world and everyone, they harass people. For all that matter, the person will be paying more taxes than his entire salary. So he's funding his salary, and they don't have this perspective that these are taxpayers, they are funding my salary. So I should be grateful to them. Are you not grateful to your parents because they are sending you some money? Are you not grateful? I suppose that you are grateful. I can presume. Yes? So public servants should also be grateful for that. So social contract is there, that they are, paying taxes, and it is a two-way relationship. They are having this power, but that power comes with a responsibility, and that is why they have to be ethical. And then, when you want to be truly effective in what you are doing, then at times you need to go beyond what is required. What is the call of duty? At times you go beyond that. And at times that is what is exactly required, a change of perspective. We talk about Naxalism, earlier it was considered from the perspective of law and order problem, that it is actually a law and order problem. But what happened? Later, a more empathetic approach, a more compassionate approach, a more emotionally intelligent approach led to the government having better understanding of the problem of Naxalism, that it has humanitarian side also. Understood or not? So only when government had this compassionate side, it was able to have this perspective. In that environment only, you will build the social capital and the network of relationship with the public. You cannot have the network of relationship with the public when you are having this my baap attitude, when you are believing in closed system. So winning heart and mind approach, whether you are fighting in alienation in Jammu and Kashmir, whether you are fighting Naxalism, that winning heart and mind approach will require that you be ethical. Otherwise you will not be effective. You tell me how you can win heart and mind of the people, if you are not ethical, if you are partisan. Can any administration which is, at face partisan, it is just favoring industry all the time, can it ever win the trust of the tribals, that what it is doing it is for their benefit also? No. So it has to be non-partisan. It has to act by public service. Dedication public service should be the hallmark of the administration. Then only they will trust. Now you understand that why ethicality is important, how mere following law may not suffice, at times you need to go beyond that. Understood? How will you ensure people participation? You tell me, how will you ensure people participation? Even though you make law, government has made the law, Dowry Act, but how many people are participating? Actually participating and telling government, yes, we are with you. The government has made the law, the firecracker will not be there. Yes, how many people participated? So for you to do actual attitude change, you require that sense of reciprocity. You need to build that relationship capital with the citizens so that they follow what you are saying. And that will require that you also become ethical, that people trust you. When you build that network of relationship, then only you will be able to do what you want to do, not attitude change and everything. I give the example of JFM. Yes, joint forest management. Can joint forest management is possible if forest department does not give anything to the community that are living nearby? Otherwise, why will they patrol the area? Why will they, report to the forest department if there is any illegal deforestation that is there? And it will be very, very hectic, for the forest department to manage entire forest. It is such a huge area. Understood? So if they are not ethical, if they are not fair, that this forest belongs to them only, then how will they build that kind of relationship in terms of managing that forest? So that is not possible. Understood? Then responsive and empathetic administration. An administration which is just existing for itself, that rules are becoming an end in themselves. Is it a good administration? What are the hallmark of good governance? Responsiveness is one. It should be responsive to the needs of the people. And it cannot be responsive until the administration is ethical, and that is why it needs to be ethical. Understood or not? All these are arguments that you have to use in your answer writing, that why the bureaucrat needs to be ethical. Understood? Why the bureaucrat needs to be ethical. Then constitutional morality. What is constitutional morality? Spirit of the महेश जी, आप तो मचा रहे हो, आप दिल पे ले लिए. You are ready for the interview, my friend. Okay, nice. So basically, constitutional morality is basically following the keyword is not just letter but also spirit of the constitution. So a bureaucrat who is merely governed by the letter of the constitution, for him to travel that distance from letter to the spirit, what is that is required? Ethics only, dedication to public service only. Because a bureaucrat who is here, who only believes in letter of the constitution, he will believe perhaps in the procedure established by law. He will not have the broader understanding of due process of law or the principle of natural justice. Understood? The judges, who are simply believe in the letter of the constitution, not in the spirit of the constitution, will they ever enlarge the meaning of right to life? That enlargement will always come when they are ethical and when they truly understand the spirit of the act. And that is why privacy has become right to life, although originally I am very sure it couldn't have been envisaged by the freedom fighter, because the issue of privacy was not that important at that point of time. It is in the age of digital age that it has become so important. And that is why we are seeing expansion of right to life, because constitutional morality. If we truly believe in the letter of the act, letter of the constitution only, then emergency will be right only. But it was against constitutional morality. Understood? Understood or not? Then we will believe that the parliament can change any part of the constitution, but spirit demands that basic structure should not be changed. Understood or not? And how will you actually implement that? How will you ensure we are a welfare state as per article? अभी भी याद नहीं किया आप लोगों ने. 38, yes, as per article 38 we are a welfare state. So how we are using our discretion as per welfare state will only be possible when our morality, our value system aligns with constitutional morality. And that is why we have to be ethical. The bureaucrats have to be ethical. Understood or not? Understood or not? Do you understand this argument? Then in discretion, you are actually revealing your character. You understand this argument? In discretion, in exercising discretion, you are actually revealing your value system. Understand that? How actually, how you will be implementing internet ban, how will you be imposing Sedition Act on someone will be decided by your discretion only. When you are making that charge sheet and everything, it is your discretion only. And that discussion will reveal your value system. If it is partisan, then you may be framing that law for a political party. You may be framing a charge against a journalist for a political party because you want to be in good books with a political party. But if you are truly believing in constitutional morality, then what will you do? then you will be acting as per fairly only, as fairly only, rule of law only. Understood? So, to follow constitutional morality in true sense, it is important that we have to be ethical. Otherwise, we will not be able to follow constitutional morality. I will give another example. The example that we just gave, we discussed that context, that if bureaucrat, if we allow small amount of bribe, will it make the administration more efficient? Will it ensure more ease of doing business or less ease of doing business? Because bureaucrat is sitting on the file, because he is not motivated, so many files are there, how does it matter if there are 200 files or 300 files on the desk? Anyway, I am retiring only and everything. So, to incentivize him, if you clear 100 files a day, you will get 1 lakh of rupees additionally per day. Now he will be like, yes. So, in a way, people are saying that this is the good form of corruption. People are saying, mind you, you asked me that question later. You were saying that day. So, people say, now on a podcast also you will hear that thing. One podcast was there, the lady was saying that some form of corruption is good. And it is justified ostensibly in the name of greasing the wheels of administration, that people will be motivated. Now they will clear the files because they have daily incentive. And it will improve ease of doing business, because you will be giving out of clearances. There will be clearance sale only. Yes, in a single day you will be giving so many clearances. But will it create more ease of doing business or less ease of doing business? Less ease of doing business, because now your motivation will turn into greed, and now you will demand bribe. And of course, those who cannot pay, their file will never move. How for them you have improved ease of doing business? They will not be in the business in the first place. They will be out of business if you follow that. Understood? So, ease of doing business comes when you act ethically. Ethics and efficiency actually go hand in hand. You talk about tender. You talk about auctioning of any natural resources. If I am aligning with any company that is there, I am the regulator, I am auctioning and everything. Then am I creating more ease of doing business or less ease of doing business? Less only. I am disturbing the level playing field. So, ease of doing business, if you are ethical, you are supporting the economy. So, being ethical is also an economic imperative. Usually, if we look at the ethics, we look at from the perspective that as if being ethical perhaps will help you in Swarg only, but it will not help you economically. It will not help administration. I am not talking about your own personal benefit, and from government perspective only I am telling you that many people believe, they have this wrong assumption that if government become ethical, perhaps it will help them, in the long run, in the good karma only. No, it is economic imperative that they become ethical. If they are truly ethical, it will help them economically only. Because imagine any bureaucrat taking decision rationally without fear and favor, why will he sit on the file? Why would he need, money to move the file? There will not be red tapeism. Yes or no? Why will he be fearful? Because when you have such climate of questioning the decision of bureaucrat, because they are favoring people, why they are hounded by the investigation agencies? Because usually this is a climate. The climate will change, and now perhaps you will have exception of such investigation cases rather than a norm, and then you will take decision more freely. Understood or not? So, being ethical is creating level playing field. Being ethical, you are not aligning with any private party, and you are creating a level playing field in which you are promoting competitiveness in the economy. You are promoting innovation. You are not aligning with any company, and that will help the economy in the long run. So, economy, efficiency and ethics goes hand in hand. So, it is not just, it is not just the imperative, that is a divine imperative, the God will otherwise disfavor you. It is rational, it is logical, it is economical that you are ethical. Understood or not? For example, if you are doing your duty, The argument to you is, in your context, if you are doing your duty, then doing your duty sincerely, will not just help you that getting a good night's sleep, because you will not have any crisis of conscience and any bad feeling, any remorse, but also it will help you in terms of reaching closer towards your goal. So it is not just ethical imperative, but it is logical and rational imperative that you be sincere in doing your duty. The similar argument is there for the bureaucracy and for the government, that it is economical imperative that they be ethical. Then only they will promote ease of doing business. They will not promote ease of doing business by aligning with any party or any company. Understood? Similarly, you talk about, usually it is said that there is no place for principles in politics. Politics are about survival. You need to be in power to do any good thing. But we'll discuss that context later. But if you are ethical, it will help you in giving you soft power. The kind of power that you will never get, if you are unethical. Now, China started this debt-driven diplomacy. You look what happened ultimately, how it started losing trust. On the other hand, you talk about India, India being ethical. Now, India, we were put under this nuclear embargo after the Pokhran test and everything. And later, the nuclear supply NSG group waiver came because we were held responsible nuclear citizen. Basically, we were held ethical in terms of usage of nuclear power, that yes, this country is not rogue in the sense that it will be using the nuclear arsenal for the first time and everything. So, since we were ethical, we were considered by an NSG waiver, and other MT7 other waiver has also come now. Understood? After independence, Korean War was there. In Korean War, India played a great role in terms of reparation and everything. You imagine a nascent country that has just born. It was mediating between USA and USSR in the context that the war was over and everything. So that is what soft power can achieve, what hard power cannot achieve. What hard power can. The legitimacy is very, very important in the context of international affair. Every nation, wants to acquire legitimacy. They want to acquire legitimacy in the eyes of other nation. And that legitimacy, or soft power can only come when we are ethical, when people believe in them. And of course, economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and work culture, all the arguments we have already discussed. So now, my dear students, if suppose a question come, I gave you the question in the format A leads to B, that how integrity, empowers bureaucracy, for example. Yes, or why it is important that ethical principles are followed by public administration. Now you have many arguments. These are the generic argument that we discussed in the previous slide, the generic argument. Now, the specific argument we have just discussed, yes, like discretionary power, social contract in the first slide, and apart from that, you have certain other specific argument, for example, integrity, non-partisanship, objectivity, and everything. So, if you were to write that why should be non-partisan, I am sure you have more than 20 to 25 points to write in the answer. Understood? So, that is how it will help you. Now you have a lot of arguments to write. So if the question comes, how does social capital help in good governance? So the same answer will be there. Social capital, how does social capital help in good governance? Same answer will be there. Legitimacy, trust, and everything, whatever we have discussed. Social capital will ensure that long-term attitudinal change is there, efficiency is there, economy is there, joint forest management, and you give the example. We need to write same thing only, just by, just package it differently as per the demand of the question. Understood or not? How does, let's say, give me any question. Let's say, how does objectivity is important, Then, whatever the argument of objectivity we have discussed, you can add other aspect as well. There is huge discretionary power. So, when discretionary power is there, when you are using the discretion, you need to note that on filing, so that later you can be held accountable, so that you can prevent abuse of discretionary power. That is the meaning of objectivity here. That these are the facts on the basis of which I am exercising this discretion. Understood? Suppose you are imposing sedition case against anyone, then these are the facts, you are writing everything. And if you are willing to record everything, that means you are willing to be held accountable for that. That it is preventing abuse of power, that is how it will help administration. Now you are getting the sense? Getting the sense? Okay, so I think that is where we will stop. And these are the ethical standards. No, what are the ethical standards of public administration? Why? Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, we have discussed already. We are discussing why now. Public administration and does not include a private institution. Public administration include public administration. All those bureaucracy, all that thing that you are discussing, Tehsildar, Patwari, everyone is public administration only. I understand being ethical has economic imperative for country as a whole, but it would not give any economic imperative to the person. Would it be practical to be ethical then? No, you are wrong. No. It will be practical for the individual also. It will be practical for the individual also. For example, let's say I am a teacher, I am teaching in this course. Suppose I say that your course is now over. Then I am not being ethical. I am not being ethical. What will happen? Suppose there is no recourse to the refund and everything. What will happen? Then you will go outside and tell that the teacher takes money, but he does not complete the course. That is what you will do outside. सब बोल रहे सर मैं तो वीडियो बनाऊंगा, YouTube पे भी आऊंगा, मैं तो बाहर प्रोटेस्ट भी करूंगा. Yes, you will do all of that. Then what will happen? Student will not come. Yes, on the other hand, if I serve you faithfully, if you see my efforts, then probably you will tell your fellow friend as well that, the sir is teaching well, you may take admission in that. That is how I have grown actually, I am telling you honestly. The word of mouth only. Many of you have come here from the recommendation of your friends only. So, being ethical is economic imperative for everyone, including me, including you also. So, you were wrong. At individual level also it helps. Nolan Committee basically gave various recommendations that is given in your first booklet only, Ethics in Public Relationship. It provided these are ethical standards that should be followed in public life. Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, that we have discussed in, I think, second class or third class. Please watch earlier classes. We have already discussed that. Ankit, no, we cannot say that. Okay, Khushi, you are improving, I guess. Any other doubt? Any other doubt? Private institutions may indulge in service to the public, but they will not be public servant. Judges are public servant, bureaucrats are public servant, government teachers are public servant, government doctors are public servant, private doctors are not public servant from that context. So now you know various arguments that why we should be ethical. Yes, in the context of public administration. And being ethical helps individually also. And no, how can you say that, how can you ask that question? In the very first class I told you the consequence of ethics for at individual level. No, how you will not be trustworthy, how you will not, bhediya kahani I told you. If you are not ethical, then no one will trust you. If no one is trusting you, how will you get employment? No, your boss will not trust you. Your husband or wife will not trust you. You will get very poor life. You are not revising. Philosopher king concept we can mention, yes, that bureaucrats have to behave like, they must have qualities, moral qualities like philosopher king of Plato. That is how we can mention. Yes, Divya. Done? I think it is done now, yes? Okay, so tomorrow we will start with other aspect of the syllabus. Previous slide. Gokul, you have copy pasted that, I guess. Previous slide. I will discuss that, Nitesh, tomorrow. Okay then? Any doubt? Okay, bye-bye, good night.